let's paint a feather. So the way I paint feathers is I'm going to start with the middle part there, and it's slightly curved, and just get an idea for how big, and I'm pressing down harder as I get to the bottom part because it's really thin up here and it's really thicker down there. And now I'm just going to add water and make the tip. Whoops, that's probably a little too much, but I'm not going to stress about what I just did there. I'm going to just keep working with it like that, and that is fine. All right, so now you can see it kind of curves on the top, and it sort of curves and it looks a little solid. There's a lot of solid shapes there. So let's get an idea for our shape here. So it's a little rounded on the top, a little rounded. I'm just gonna add kind of straight here, and then you have your pretty feathers on the bottom there, the little wispy ones. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Payne's Gray and my Burnt Umber that I just mixed here. So I'm using a palette that I had paint on already, and what I'm going to do is I'm just make these solid shapes like that. So while it's wet, I'm just going to take my brush and just make some little marks in it to show the way the feathers are growing. The little, you know, I don't even know what you call those. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to bring it down into this area here where it's, and I'm going to do the same thing. I wet it, and then I'm taking my brush and making the little marks the way the feather is growing and all those little hairs are growing. And there's some little ones in here. And then the outside part is kind of solid again. And while it's wet, I'm just going to take my brush and bring them in so it looks like the edge of the feather. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating it slightly, but I'm just trying to, I wet a little area kind of as a solid, and then I'm making my little tiny lines out to show the growth of the feather. And that is really pretty. So I'm going to go back in here with a darker color and just kind of make some individual ripples and some more lines of detail. Really pretty. That is really pretty. So while it's still wet, you can drop in some more colors if you want, just to give it some variation. Like that. And down here. That's very nice. Now down the bottom part of the feather, down here, I'm going to just wet this area with a little bit of my light brown, which I just did Payne's Gray more, but that's okay. As long as it's lighter, just a little area. And I'm gonna just put some water on the outside of it. That's not pure water, so let's get the paint off my brush and just get that to be more of like pure water. Let that dry. And now we're gonna start the other side. So, look at this beautiful feather. This is from a turkey that was roosting on my car. So now these are more like S shapes here, and we just want an idea. I'm just gonna make some tick marks going down of how I want them to look or where they're gonna go. So I'm just very lightly painting in some the way the feathers are growing, because this side's a little bit more complicated, and I just want to, so they're kind of like little S marks So I'm using my very light gray. I just used what's on my brush, and I'm just basically adding those lines, guidelines for myself. I'm going to add this also down the bottom here, a little fuzzy for the fuzzies. There we go. Let's just make it nice and wet on the outside there. That's perfect. All right, so now we're going to go back and do the same thing we were just doing, but we're just going to be drawing more feather shapes. So even though they separate right here, they come to a point. So you want to keep them separate, but they have to come to a point somehow. So, because there's no gap all the way down. It's only on the outside, so you see the gaps. So you could paint them further down, and then you kind of just fill in the gaps so they touch. So my brush is kind of on the wet side, and so I did my marks, and I'm going to add some more of my dark into that while it's still wet, so that it just bleeds in there and makes a pretty texture and adds to the beauty of it. The beauty of it. It's beautiful. That's nice. I'm going to make this more solid here, because you know you want to give your eye a rest, so you want some parts of it to be like really more detailed, and some to be not, so your eye gets a rest and understands it a little bit better. Otherwise it gets too complicated and you don't even know where to look at. I'm going to add a little bit more brown to this as I go down. I can hear my chickens outside making noise. We just had a huge storm here on Tuesday, so I do not have any power. I'm working with a generator so I can give you this nice video. My generator's going so I can put some lights on. And there we go. And we have a well, so we had to get the generator going. And I have 7 chickens, so I have feathers all the time to look at. And we also have birds out in the yard that give us feathers. That was actually a turkey feather, but I don't know if this is a turkey feather or if it's from the beach. Could be a turkey feather too. I have so many feathers. I have other ones, yellow orioles and all that, but I just don't know what I did with them right now. But for this lesson, I think you can just learn the shape of it, and it's beautiful brown like that. It's really pretty. So you can see here I just made a lot of shapes, some solid shapes and some ones that are more detailed. And now we're going to get down to the bottom feathery ones. Since we added this color here, base color, I'm just going to use the tip of my brush and just add these feathers going in different directions at this point, and kind of all over the place. Look at that, it's so pretty. So that little color you put in the background looks like it's just like more fluffy feathers. All right, so this looks pretty good. I want to maybe let this dry just a little bit, and then I'm going to add some more. I'm going to make the end of it just a little bit longer. And bring these in to the stem more, like that. And I'm going to take just a little bit of my yellow ochre. Yellow ochre, and bring it down. Oh, not too much yellow in there, is there? Okay, there we go. Sometimes by adding a warmer color to a cooler color, it makes it sparkle more, so it's pretty cool. I kind of like the shadow this is making. I see that I sort of made something a little bit over where I wanted it, so it's just kind of looking like a shadow right now, which makes me kind of happy, so that's good. So this is almost dry here, so I'm going to go back in with a darker, or even the same value, it doesn't matter. We're just going to have some of these feathers overlapping the other ones here. That is really nice. And then you can add a few lines here and there just to suggest the growth pattern. So I went over that one. I'm going to not stress about it and just work with it. And you could do the same on this side as well. Now that is really beautiful. Feathers are so much fun. All right, so I'm gonna put just a teeny bit more in here, in this area, so you can see the way it's growing. All right, we're gonna let this dry a little bit, and we're gonna finish our stem. Ooh, bye, feather. All right, that's good. And so now I'm going to take my Payne's Gray and some brown and make it really thick. And I'm very carefully going to start up here and make my, just go over that middle. Okay, I got like 3/4 of the way down. I'm going to take the paint off my brush and just put water and just bring this down a little bit more. And then you just want to blend in here and there to the stem part to your little hairs. So I want to bring this up just to connect them, make sure it looks like it's connected and it's growing out of it. There you go. So remember, it's very thin up here and it's thicker down here. And that's good. I am just going to add some solid color on this side of it, right there like that, and just blend it in. We'll see in a second if that was a wise decision or not, and I'm not afraid to make mistakes, but I think it worked out pretty good. Awesome. And now I'm going to take I have some white ink, but you can use white gouache, whatever you have that's a white. I should let this dry, so make sure it's dry. And then I'm just going to give my middle part some highlights here and there, like this, because it is kind of shiny. And let's do the top one too, just a little bit around the bend, so just know that that stem is there. There we go. And maybe a little bit down here. And then we can also, this is not pure white, you can see this is like a yellow white, so I'm going to go into my yellow ochre over here and make it super, super, super light color, super light color. A lot of water, but I don't want it, okay, it's not really the color I want. Let's go back. I want it watery, but just use the tip of your brush. So we're just going to go in here and make some, you can make some solids and then some of those. So now you have the appearance. Now I just wiped off my brush a little bit, and then I'm just kind of blending that in here and there like that. Look at that pretty feather. That is really beautiful. And I could sit here all day and just paint feathers. And every time I paint one, it's going to get better and better and better. So I thank you for joining me for this demonstration, and I hope you liked it. And if you did, please like and share and leave a comment. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.